Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of Seoul's Hope and looked out at the stars. 3 months ago, those same stars had seemed empty and cold. Now he knew they were full of life. Strange life that had been watching Earth for who knows how long. The discovery had started with a simple radio signal. Dr. Soojin Park had been working late at the Space Communication Center when her equipment picked up something impossible. The signal was coming from outside the solar system, and it was clearly made by someone smart. Not random space noise, but real communication. Within days, Earth's best scientists were studying the signal. They found patterns, mathematics, and what looked like star maps. Someone was trying to talk to them. The message was simple once they figured it out. "We know you are there. We are coming to meet you." That was 6 months ago. Now Captain Kim was leading humanity's first trip to meet aliens. His ship was small compared to the military vessels Earth could build, but it was the newest and best they had. Seoul's Hope carried 50 people, including Ambassador Park, scientist Ji-ho Lee, and the best diplomats Earth could find. The meeting place was an empty spot between stars, far from Earth. The aliens had chosen it. They said it was safe and neutral. Kim hoped they were right. His small ship would not survive if the aliens decided to attack. "Captain, we are getting close," said Lieutenant Yoo-jin Nam from her station. "The alien ships should be visible soon." Kim nodded and tried to look calm. Inside, his heart was beating fast. This was the most important moment in human history. Everything Earth did today would decide how aliens saw humanity for years to come. There, Ji-ho Lee pointed at the main screen. "Those lights are not stars." Kim looked and felt his mouth drop open. 3 huge ships floated in space ahead of them. Each one was at least 10 times bigger than Seoul's Hope. They were beautiful and strange, made of materials that seemed to glow with their own light. "My God," whispered Ambassador Park. "They are magnificent." The largest ship looked like it was made of living crystal. Light moved through it like water, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. The second ship seemed to be made of metal, that flowed like liquid. The third was the strangest of all. It looked empty, just an outline filled with swirling gas and clouds. "Captain Kim," a voice came through the radio. It spoke perfect English, though it sounded wrong somehow. Too perfect. Like a computer was talking. "I am Chancellor Krextall of the Galactic Council. You may bring your ship alongside ours." Kim gave the order, and Seoul's Hope moved toward the crystal ship. As they got closer, a section of the alien vessel opened like a flower. Inside was a docking bay big enough to hold their entire ship. "This is it," Kim said to his crew. "Everyone remember, we represent all of humanity today. Let's make a good impression." The docking process was smooth. The aliens had technology that made their ship fit perfectly into the bay. When the doors closed, atmosphere filled the space around Seoul's Hope. Tests showed the air was safe to breathe. Ambassador Park led the human group out of their ship. The alien docking bay was huge, with walls that seemed to be made of the same glowing crystal as the ship's hull. Everything was clean and perfect, like no one had ever used it. 3 groups of aliens waited for them. The first group looked like walking crystals, tall and thin with light flowing through their bodies. These had to be the people who built this ship. The second group was harder to understand. They seemed to be made of liquid metal that moved and changed shape. The third group was the most confusing. They looked like clouds of gas in the shape of people with no solid parts at all. "Welcome, humans," said the tallest crystal being. This had to be Chancellor Krextall. His voice came from everywhere at once, not from any mouth. "I am pleased to meet your species at last." Ambassador Park stepped forward and bowed politely. "Chancellor Krextall, I am Soojin Park, representing Earth and all humanity. We are honored to meet you." The crystal being made a sound that might have been laughter. "Yes, we have been watching your world for some time. Your species showed promise." Dr. Lee moved closer to Kim. "Did he just say they have been watching us?" he whispered. Before Kim could answer, Chancellor Krextall continued. "Come, the council wishes to learn about your people." They followed. The aliens through halls filled with wonders. The walls showed images of different worlds, some covered in crystal cities, others floating in gas clouds, still others that looked like liquid metal oceans. This council clearly ruled many planets. The meeting room was enormous. 12 different types of aliens sat around a table that seemed to be carved from a single massive gem. Each alien was more strange than the last. Some had too many arms. Others had no arms at all. Some floated in the air, others seemed to be made of living rock. Humans, Chancellor Krextal announced, meet the Galactic Council. We have ruled this part of the galaxy for over 10,000 years. Ambassador Park tried to hide her shock. 10,000 years? Humanity had barely learned to farm that long ago. Please, tell us about your species, said one of the other aliens. This one looked like a giant insect with jeweled eyes. Park took a deep breath and began. She talked about Earth's history, about how humans had learned to work together. She explained their technology, their art, their dreams of exploring the stars. She showed them pictures of Earth's cities and spoke about human achievements. The aliens listened politely, but Kim could see they were not impressed. Some of them seemed bored. Others whispered to each other in languages that sounded like music or static electricity. When Park finished, Chancellor Krextal nodded slowly. Interesting, he said. Your species has advanced quickly for such a short time. However, we must inform you that you are not ready to join the council. Not ready? Park asked. What do you mean? You are still limited to one star system, explained another alien. This one made of what looked like living shadow. Your technology is primitive. Your people still fight wars among themselves. The council only accepts truly advanced civilizations. Dr. Lee stepped forward. But we have achieved nuclear fusion. We have computers that can think. Our medicine can cure diseases that once killed millions. The Crystal Chancellor made that laughing sound again. Child's toys compared to council technology. Look around you. We travel between stars as easily as you travel between cities. We have conquered death itself. We can reshape entire worlds with our thoughts. Kim felt anger rising in his chest. These aliens were treating humans like children. What would it take for humanity to join the council? He asked. Time, said Chancellor Krextal. Perhaps in 1,000 years your species will have advanced enough. For now, we grant you protected primitive status. This means other species may not harm you while you develop. Protected primitive status, Ambassador Park repeated. Yes, think of it as a reservation for developing species. You will be safe to grow and learn. We will check on your progress from time to time. The meeting continued for several more hours, but Kim could see it was pointless. The aliens had already decided humanity was too primitive to matter. They answered questions with patience like teachers talking to slow students. When the humans finally returned to Soul's Hope, the mood was mixed. They had made contact with aliens, which was amazing, but they had also learned that humanity was considered backward and weak by the rest of the galaxy. As their ship left the alien vessels behind, Dr. Lee looked at the readings his instruments had taken. Captain, he said quietly, those alien ships were scanning us the whole time. Deep scans. They know everything about our technology now. Kim looked at the data. Lee was right. The aliens had not just been polite. They had been studying humanity like scientists study insects. And there's something else, Lee continued. Those scans were not just looking at our ship. They were focused on our military equipment, our weapons systems, our defenses. Kim felt a cold fear in his stomach. Why would they need to know about our military? Ambassador Park overheard them talking. Maybe they just want to understand us better, she said. But even she did not sound convinced. As Soul's Hope began the long journey home, none of the humans spoke about what they were all thinking. The aliens had been friendly and polite. They had offered protection and promised to check on humanity's development. But their scans had focused on Earth's weapons and defenses, and their questions had been very specific about human military capabilities and population centers. Captain, Kim looked out at the stars one more time. They no longer seemed empty and cold. Now they seemed full of watchers, studying humanity and waiting for something. The first contact had been successful. Humanity now knew they were not alone in the universe. But Kim had a growing fear that this knowledge might not be the blessing they had hoped it would be. 5 years had passed since first contact, and Dr. Minho Choi was worried. As Earth's Director of Alien Affairs, he had spent every day since the meeting studying the Council's behavior. What he found kept him awake at night. The observation. Posts are not what they claim to be, he told President Dong Hyun Yoo during their weekly meeting. I have been watching them for 3 years now. Their activity patterns are wrong. President Yoo looked tired. Leading humanity through first contact had aged him quickly. What do you mean, wrong? Choi pulled up holographic displays showing the solar system. Red dots marked 17 alien structures floating in the outer regions, far from Earth but close enough to watch everything humans did. They told us these are research stations, Choi explained, places to study human development from a distance. But look at this data. The displays showed energy readings from the alien posts. Instead of the steady low power you would expect from research equipment, the readings showed massive power spikes at regular intervals. These are not research stations, Mr. President. These are military bases. They are building weapons and storing supplies for an invasion fleet. President Yu was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he asked, "How certain are you?" "Completely certain. I have been intercepting their communications for 2 years. They think we are too primitive to understand their signals, but our computers are better than they realized." Choi activated another display. This one showed translated alien messages, hundreds of them. The content made President Yu's face go pale. Operation Harvest, Yu read aloud. Eliminate native population, secure mineral resources, establish mining colonies. He looked up at Choi. How long do we have? Based on their construction schedule, about 3 years, maybe 4 if we are lucky. That night, President Yu called an emergency meeting with Earth's military leaders. Captain Yoon-soo Kang had been promoted to general after first contact. She now led the newly created Space Defense Force, humanity's first real space military. General Kang, the president said, Dr. Choi believes the aliens plan to invade Earth within 4 years. What can we do? Kang had been expecting this conversation. She had been suspicious of the aliens since the first meeting. We fight, sir, but not the way they expect. She activated her own set of displays, showing ship designs that looked nothing like the small vessels humanity currently used. I call it the Titan Initiative, Kang explained. We cannot match their technology directly, but we do not need to. We just need to surprise them. The ship designs were massive, far bigger than anything humanity had ever built. They looked more like floating cities than spacecraft. How is this possible? Asked Admiral Taeyang Shin, commander of Earth's regular space navy. We do not have the resources to build ships this large. We do if we are smart about it, Kang replied. Look at what the aliens missed when they scanned us. She showed them technical readouts from humanity's fusion reactors, the power plants that supplied energy to Earth's cities. The aliens had looked at them and dismissed them as primitive. They were wrong, Kang continued. Our fusion technology is actually more advanced than theirs in some ways. They use different methods that are more efficient for small ships, but our approach can be scaled up much larger. Engineer Yu Jin Nam stepped forward. She had been working on the Titan project for 2 years, ever since General Kang recruited her. The aliens build ships like jewelry, Nam explained. Beautiful, perfect, efficient. We can build ships like mountains, big, tough, and carrying massive weapons that no alien ship could mount. President Yu studied the designs. The Titan ships were ugly compared to alien vessels, but they were impressive in a different way. They looked like they could punch through anything in their path. How many can we build? He asked. With the resources from the Moon and Mars colonies, maybe 30 ships, Kang answered. But they will be hidden. The aliens are watching Earth, but they are not watching the asteroid belt as carefully. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. Humanity would continue to act like the primitive species the aliens expected. Earth's regular fleet would remain small and obviously defensive. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, Work crews would hollow out large rocks and build the Titan ships inside them. The aliens will see exactly what they expect to see, Kang explained. A weak species trying to build a few small warships for defense. They will never suspect we are building a real fleet. Work began immediately. The project required the largest secret operation in human history. Thousands of workers were moved to hidden bases in the asteroid belt. Supply ships disguised as mining vessels carried materials and equipment to the construction sites. Hai-Wan Young had been Ambassador Park's assistant during first contact. Now she led Earth's new alien intelligence division. Her job was to make sure the Council never learned about the Titan project. "We are fighting a war of information," she told her team of hackers and spies. "The aliens think they are watching us, but we are watching them back." Young's people had learned to intercept alien communications without being detected. They also learned to feed false information back to the Council, making humanity appear even weaker than the aliens already believed. "Every message they send, home talks about how primitive and helpless we are," Jung reported to General Kang. "They have no idea we can understand their language or detect their signals." The work was hard and dangerous. Building ships in space had never been done on this scale before. Workers died in accidents. Equipment failed in the cold and radiation of deep space. But the work continued. Admiral Jae-min Song commanded the secret shipyards. He had been a submarine captain before joining the space program, and he understood the importance of staying hidden. "Every ship must be perfect," he told his construction crews. "We will only get one chance to surprise them. If even one Titan ship is discovered early, the entire plan fails." The ships took shape slowly inside hollowed asteroids. Each Titan was over 2 kilometers long, powered by fusion reactors that generated more energy than entire cities used. Their weapons were simple but devastating. Massive cannons that fired controlled fusion charges, essentially small nuclear bombs that could be targeted with perfect accuracy. "The aliens have elegant weapons," explained weapons designer Won-Sik Han. "Energy beams and force fields and things we barely understand. Our weapons are not elegant. They are just very, very powerful." As the years passed, the deception continued. Earth's public fleet remained small and obviously defensive. Humanity acted exactly like a primitive species that was slowly learning to build basic warships. Meanwhile, the alien observation posts grew larger and more heavily armed. Dr. Choi's intelligence network tracked the arrival of alien supply ships, bringing weapons and troops to the hidden bases. "They are not even trying to hide it anymore," Choi reported. "The latest communications talk about final preparations and eliminating the native population efficiently." President Yu had been re-elected twice during the preparation period, partly because the public did not know how serious the alien threat was. Only a few hundred people knew the complete truth about Operation Harvest and the Titan Initiative. "How do we tell people that their friendly alien protectors are actually planning genocide?" Yu asked his advisors. "How do we prepare them for war without causing panic?" The answer was gradual preparation. Earth's military began training exercises that were actually preparation for invasion. Cities began building emergency shelters that were actually bunkers designed to survive alien bombardment. The public was told these were precautions in case other hostile aliens appeared. General Kang spent her time traveling between the hidden shipyards, checking on progress. Each Titan ship was a miracle of engineering, far more advanced than anything humanity had built before. "We are doing the impossible," she told Admiral Song during one inspection visit. "Building a fleet that can fight the Council using technology they think is primitive." "Will it work?" Song asked. Kang looked out at the massive ship taking shape around them. The Titan's hull was ugly but powerful, designed to absorb damage that would destroy smaller vessels. Its weapons could crack asteroids. Its engines could push it faster than any human ship had ever traveled. "It has to work," she replied, "because this is the only chance humanity will get." As the 4th year ended, the final Titan ships were nearing completion. 24 massive vessels waited in hidden locations throughout the asteroid belt. Their crews were trained and ready. Their weapons were loaded and tested. Earth's intelligence network reported that the alien invasion fleet was gathering at the edge of the solar system. Over 200 council ships from 7 different species, all armed with weapons that could turn Earth's surface into glass. The trap was nearly ready. The aliens thought they were about to harvest a helpless world inhabited by primitive creatures. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had spent 4 years preparing for war. President Yu stood in the hidden command center on the moon, looking at displays that showed both fleets, the obvious Earth defense ships that the aliens could see, and the hidden Titan fleet that would decide the battle. "General Kang," he said, "are we ready?" Kang nodded. "The Titans are fueled and armed. Admiral Song's crews know their orders. Huma." The invasion fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system like a swarm of deadly stars. Admiral Taeyang Shin watched the displays in Earth's command center as more and more alien ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 215 ships confirmed, reported his communications officer, 7 different council species represented. "This is the largest military fleet we have ever detected." Shin nodded grimly. The aliens were not taking any chances. They had brought enough firepower to destroy Earth 10 times over. "Any word from the hidden fleet?" he asked quietly. "Admiral Song reports all Titan ships are in position and ready," came the whispered reply. "The aliens show no sign of detecting them." That was the key to everything. For 4 years, humanity had worked to convince the Council that Earth's defenses were exactly what they appeared to be. A few dozen small ships crewed by a primitive species trying to protect their homeworld. General Bo Young Cho studied the alien formation from her position in the underground war room. As commander of Earth's ground forces, she knew that if the space battle failed, her soldiers would be all that stood between humanity and extinction. "They are moving slowly," she observed, taking time to scan everything and make sure there are no surprises. President Yu stood beside her, watching as red dots on the tactical display crept closer to Earth. Each dot represented a ship that could probably destroy every human vessel in a straight fight. "How long until they reach the inner system?" he asked. "At current speed, 18 hours, replied the tactical officer. "But they could accelerate if they wanted to." The aliens were being careful, which was exactly what General Kang had hoped for. The slower they moved, the more time the Titan fleet had to position itself perfectly for the ambush. Captain Wan-Sik Han commanded the visible Earth defense fleet from the bridge of the cruiser Sole Defender. His ships were arranged in a defensive formation around Earth, exactly where the aliens expected to find them. "Remember," he told his captains over the secure channel, "we need to look brave but outmatched. Fight hard enough to seem real. But do not win any battles until the Titans arrive." It was a dangerous game. Han's crews had to be ready to die to maintain the deception, but they also had to survive long enough for the real battle to begin. This alien fleet took 12 hours to reach the orbit of Mars. There they stopped and deployed an attack formation. Chancellor Krextel's crystal ship sat at the center, surrounded by the war vessels of 6 other council species. "Humans of Earth," came the broadcast on all frequencies. The voice was different now, cold and commanding instead of the polite tone from their first meeting. "I am War Prince Velthara of the Nexari fleet. You will surrender your planet immediately." President Yu had prepared for this moment. He activated Earth's response broadcast, speaking to the aliens but also to every human on the planet. "This is President Yu of Earth. We reject your demand. This is our world and we will defend it." War Prince Velthara's reply came quickly. "Your species was granted protected primitive status. That protection is now revoked. You have 72 hours to evacuate your major population centers before we begin resource extraction." The meaning was clear. The aliens planned to kill everyone on Earth and strip the planet of anything valuable. They were not even pretending to be civilized anymore. "Resource extraction," General Cho said bitterly. "They cannot even say the word. Genocide." Deep in the asteroid belt, Admiral Song received the signal he had been waiting for. "All Titan ships, this is command. The alien fleet is in position. Begin final approach." 24 massive warships began moving through the asteroid field toward the inner system. Each one was hidden inside a hollowed-out rock. invisible to alien scanners that were focused on the obvious human ships near Earth. Captain Mi Young-bae commanded the lead Titan ship, Indomitable Soul. Her vessel was the largest and most powerful ship humanity had ever built, carrying enough firepower to destroy a moon. "All stations report ready," her weapons officer announced. "Fusion cannons charged and targeted. Point defense systems online. Armor plating at maximum strength." Bae nodded and opened a channel to the other Titan commanders. "This is what we trained for. Remember, hit hard, hit fast, and show these aliens that humans are not as primitive as they think." The alien fleet began moving toward Earth after the 72-hour deadline expired. War Prince Velthara clearly expected the humans to surrender once they saw the overwhelming force arrayed against them. Captain Han's defense fleet moved to intercept, just as the aliens expected. 50 human ships against over 200 alien vessels. It looked like a hopeless last stand by a desperate species. "All ships attack formation," Han ordered. "Let us show them how humans fight." The first battle began near the orbit of the moon. Han's ships fought with surprising skill, but they were clearly outmatched. Human weapons scored some hits on alien shields, but the Council ships returned fire with devastating effect. The cruiser, Busan Guardian, exploded under concentrated fire from 3 Vorthak destroyers. The destroyer Daegu Strike took critical damage and began drifting helplessly. Within an hour, half of Han's visible fleet was destroyed or disabled. "Exactly as planned," Han reported to Admiral Shin on a secure channel. "We look brave but beaten. The aliens are confident they have won." War Prince Velthara's fleet moved into close orbit around Earth, positioning their ships for planetary bombardment. The alien commander was pleased. The humans had fought better than expected, but they were clearly no match for Council technology. "Begin targeting major population centers," he ordered his fleet commanders. "Eliminate the native population efficiently, then begin mining operations." That was when Admiral Song's voice cut across every communication channel in the solar system. "This is Admiral Song of the Human Titan Fleet. You threatened our world. You chose genocide. Now face the consequences of underestimating humanity." The aliens had exactly 3 seconds to wonder what he meant before 24 asteroids throughout the inner system suddenly cracked open like eggs. The Titan ships emerged from their hiding places simultaneously. Each vessel was enormous. Longer than many alien ships were wide and bristling with weapons that dwarfed anything the Council had seen from humanity. War Prince Velthara stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Where had these massive human ships come from? His intelligence report said the humans only had small, primitive vessels. "All ships, emergency maneuvers," he broadcast to his fleet. "We are under attack by unknown human vessels." But the Titans had been positioned perfectly for this moment. Captain Bae's Indomitable Soul was less than 50 kilometers from Chancellor Krextal's flagship when it decloaked. "Fire," Bae ordered calmly. The Titan's main fusion cannon charged for 2 seconds, then released the energy of a small star in a focused beam. The blast tore through 3 Vorthak ships in a straight line, vaporizing their elegant crystal hulls instantly. Across the battlefield, other Titan ships opened fire. Captain Young-soo Kim's Busan Thunder used its massive railguns to punch holes through the hull of a Quilith bioship. Commander Kyung-min Oh's escort vessel Daegu Vengeance demonstrated humanity's new point defense systems by intercepting and destroying every missile a Nexari squadron fired at it. The alien fleet's perfect formation collapsed into chaos as ships scattered in all directions trying to avoid the devastating fire from vessels they had never seen before. "How is this possible?" War Prince Velthara demanded over his command channel. "The humans are primitives. They build small, weak ships." His tactical officers had no answer. The Titan ships were using human technology, but scaled up far beyond what the Council had thought possible. Worse, they were fighting with tactical precision that no primitive species should possess. Captain Seo Hyun Park's Titan proved that point by targeting the specific weak points in Quilith bioarmor that human scientists had identified during years of study. Her precisely aimed shots disabled 3 alien ships without destroying them completely, something that required detailed knowledge of alien technology. "They have been studying us," realized Chancellor Krextall from his heavily shielded flagship. While we watched them, they were learning everything about our ships and weapons. The battle raged across multiple fronts. Commander Sun Wu Lim led a squadron of smaller Titan escorts that used their superior speed to outmaneuver the crystalline Fourth-Act ships. Each human vessel fought with the confidence of crews who had trained for this exact scenario for years. War Prince Velthara tried to rally his forces, ordering his ships to concentrate fire on individual Titan vessels. But the human ships were built like fortresses. Their thick armor absorbed damage that would cripple any council vessel. "Target their weapons," he ordered desperately. "If we cannot destroy them, we can disarm them." Several alien squadrons focused their fire on the indomitable soul, hoping to overwhelm even its massive defenses. For a few minutes it looked like the strategy might work as the Titan's shields flickered under the concentrated assault. Then Captain Bay demonstrated why the Titans had been designed the way they were. Instead of retreating or trying to evade, she ordered her ship to charge directly into the alien formation. "All weapons, continuous fire," she commanded. "Show them what happens when you corner a human." News of humanity's victory traveled across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within 3 days, every major civilization had heard impossible reports about a primitive species destroying a council invasion fleet with massive warships that appeared from nowhere. Ambassador Hyojin Cha sat in Earth's new diplomatic center, reading message after message from alien species she had never heard of. Most were simple requests for information, but 12 were different. These messages came through secret channels heavily encrypted and marked urgent. "They are from species the Council has been oppressing," she explained to President So Young Hong, who had won the emergency election called after President Yu's term ended. "They want to know if the reports are true, if humanity really defeated the Council fleet." President Hong studied the messages. Each one told a similar story. Advanced civilizations that had been forced to serve the Council for centuries, providing resources and technology while receiving nothing in return. "They are looking for hope," Hong realized. "They want to know if someone has finally found a way to fight back." The answer to that question was floating in orbit above Earth. Admiral Song's Titan fleet had taken only minor damage in the battle, and human shipyards were already working to repair what little harm the aliens had managed to inflict. Captain Bay stood on the bridge of Indomitable Soul, watching as her crew completed the final repairs to their ship's armor plating. The Titan had taken more damage than any other vessel in the fleet, but it was still fully operational. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we are receiving a priority message from Earth Command. The Council is requesting negotiations." Bay was not surprised. The surviving Council ships had fled to their nearest major base, a system called Vextar that served as the regional military headquarters. Intelligence reports suggested they were in complete chaos, trying to figure out how their invincible fleet had been destroyed. "Tell Admiral Song I am ready for orders," Bay replied. "If the Council wants to talk, they can do it from a position of weakness for once." The request for negotiations had come from Chancellor Krextall himself. His message was very different from the arrogant demands humanity had received during the first contact meeting. "Esteemed humans," the translation read, "the Galactic Council acknowledges that errors were made in our assessment of your species. We request immediate diplomatic discussions to resolve the current conflict." General Kang read the message with grim satisfaction. "Notice how they do not apologize for planning genocide. They just admit to making errors in assessment." President Hong agreed. "They are not sorry for trying to kill us. They are just sorry they failed." The human response was swift and clear. Admiral Song would lead a fleet of 30 Titan ships to the Vextar system. The negotiations would take place there, under the guns of the most powerful warships humanity had ever built. "No more meetings in neutral space," Hong announced to her cabinet. "No more humans begging for acceptance from aliens who see us as primitives. This time they come to us." The journey to Vextar took 6 days. Admiral Song's fleet traveled through hyperspace, using improved engines that Earth's scientists had developed by studying captured alien technology. The Council had unknowingly provided humanity with the key to faster interstellar travel. Captain Da-Un Kim commanded the massive flagship Sol Ascendant, the newest and largest Titan ship in the fleet. At 3 kilometers long, it was bigger than some Council space stations and carried enough firepower to sterilize an entire planet. "Admiral," Kim reported as they approached the Vextar system, "we are detecting massive Council fleet movements. It looks like they are gathering ships from across this entire region of space." Song was not concerned. Let the Council gather their fleets. Humanity was no longer hiding their true capabilities. "How many ships?" he asked. "Over 400, sir, representing all 12 Council species. This appears to be their entire regional military force." Song smiled coldly. The Council was trying to negotiate from a position of strength, surrounding the meeting place with overwhelming military force. It was exactly the kind of bullying tactic they had always used. "Signal the fleet," Song ordered. "Battle formation. Let us show them what we think of their intimidation attempts." The 30 Titan ships spread out as they entered the Vextar system, each one taking a position that gave it clear firing lines on the assembled Council fleet. The alien ships were impressive, sleek, beautiful vessels representing thousands of years of advanced engineering. But they were also small. Even the largest Council dreadnought was barely half the size of the smallest Titan ship. An intelligence report suggested that most of them were designed for fighting other Council species, not for the kind of devastating battle that had destroyed the invasion fleet at Earth. Chancellor Krextal's flagship hung in the center of the alien formation, its crystal hull glowing with nervous energy. Around it, the ships of 11 other species waited in perfect formation, trying to project power and confidence. "This is Admiral Song of the Human Titan Fleet," came the broadcast that reached every ship in the system. "We are here for the negotiations that Chancellor Krextal requested. I suggest we begin immediately." The response took several minutes to arrive, which suggested the Council leaders were arguing among themselves about how to handle the situation. "Admiral Song," Chancellor Krextal finally replied, "we welcome you to Vextar. However, we must express concern about the size of your fleet. Surely such a large military force is unnecessary for peaceful negotiations." Song's reply was immediate and cold. "Chancellor, you brought over 400 ships to intimidate us. We brought 30 to protect ourselves. If you find our presence threatening, perhaps you should consider why." The negotiations began an hour later, conducted over secure video channels with each side remaining on their own flagship. The difference in tone from the first meeting was remarkable. Where before the Council had spoken to humanity like adults, talking to children, now there was nervousness in their voices. Chancellor Krextal kept glancing at displays showing the massive Titan ships, clearly calculating whether his fleet could win a battle against them. "The Council wishes to establish new diplomatic relations with humanity," Krextal began carefully. "We recognize that our previous assessments of your species' capabilities were incomplete." President Hong appeared on the screen from Earth, her image transmitted across interstellar space in real time thanks to communication technology humanity had reverse engineered from Council equipment. "Chancellor Krextal," she said, "let us speak plainly. Your species attempted to commit genocide against mine. Your Operation Harvest planned to kill every human being and strip our planet bare. Why should we negotiate with you instead of simply destroying your fleets?" The question hung in the air like a weapon. Around the conference table on Krextal's ship, the other Council leaders shifted uncomfortably. They had never been spoken to this way by a primitive species. That operation was a mistake, Krextal admitted, based on incorrect information about human capabilities. The Council is prepared to make amends. "What kind of amends?" Hong asked. The negotiations continued for hours. The Council offered trade agreements, technology exchanges, and formal recognition of humanity as an advanced species. They promised to update their databases to reflect human capabilities and to prevent any future misunderstandings. But President Hong was not interested in their offers. She had been briefed by Ambassador Cha about the secret messages from oppressed species across the galaxy. "We know about the other species you have conquered," Hong said bluntly. "The civilizations you have forced into servitude, the planets you have strip-mined, the cultures you have destroyed. Humanity is not interested in joining your empire of oppression. Chancellor Krextal's crystalline form flickered with agitation. Those species needed guidance. They were not ready for full independence. The same way humanity was not ready? Hong asked. The same way you decided we needed to be exterminated for the good of the galaxy. Admiral Song watched the negotiations from his command center aboard the Soul Ascendant. He could see the council leaders growing more desperate as they realized their usual diplomatic tactics were not working. Admiral, Captain Kim reported quietly, we are detecting movement in their fleet. Several squadrons are changing position. Song nodded. He had been expecting this. When diplomacy failed, the council always resorted to force. Signal all ships, he ordered. Prepare for battle. It looks like the council has decided to solve this problem the old-fashioned way. The change in the alien fleet was subtle, but unmistakable. Ships that had been arranged in a defensive formation were slowly moving into attack positions. Weapons systems that had been powered down were coming online. Chancellor Krextal, Song interrupted the diplomatic discussions. I should inform you that if your ships continue their current movements, we will consider it an act of aggression, the crystal being tried to look innocent. Admiral, we are merely adjusting our formation for defensive purposes. Song smiled grimly. Really? Because from here it looks like you are preparing to attack. Perhaps I should demonstrate what happens to council fleets that threaten humanity. 6 months after the confrontation at Vexstar, the galaxy was transforming in ways no one had imagined possible. Ambassador Hyojin Cha stood in the assembly hall of what had once been the council's capital world, watching as representatives from 47 different species took their seats for the first meeting of the new Galactic Assembly. The hall itself was symbolic of the changes taking place. Where once 12 council species had sat on elevated thrones looking down at lesser beings, now every species had an equal place at a circular table. No one was higher than anyone else. It is hard to believe, whispered Dr. Minho Choi, who now served as Earth's chief diplomatic advisor. 6 months ago, most of these species were slaves or servants of the council. Now they are free to govern themselves. Cha nodded, but her attention was focused on the empty seats where the former council species should have been sitting. 3 of the 12 had agreed to join the new democratic government. The others had retreated to their home systems, refusing to accept the end of their ancient dominance. How many ships are we tracking in the resistance zones? She asked quietly. Admiral Song's intelligence network reports about 60 vessels scattered across 5 systems. Choi replied. Nothing that poses a real threat, but they are still planning something. The resistance was led by Chancellor Krextal and War Prince Felthara, who had formed an alliance of former council species that refused to accept the new galactic order. They had been broadcasting propaganda messages claiming that humanity was the real threat to galactic civilization. President Hong took her place at the head of the human delegation, representing Earth and its colonies. The past months had seen an explosion of human expansion as Titan ships escorted colony vessels to dozens of new worlds. The galaxy suddenly seemed much smaller when you had ships that could travel between star systems in days instead of months. Delegates, Hong addressed the assembly, we gathered today to formally establish the Galactic Assembly as the governing body of free space. For too long, this region has been ruled by the few at the expense of the many. That age is over. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Representatives from species that had been oppressed for centuries stood and cheered. The Zephyrians, whose crystal cities had been mined for rare materials, applauded until their glass-like hands rang like bells. The Corvan hive minds projected waves of joy that could be felt by every telepathic species in the hall. But the celebration was interrupted by an urgent message from Fleet Admiral Da-Yoon Kim, who commanded the Titan fleet from her flagship Soul Ascendant. Madam President, Kim's voice came through the secure communication channel. We have detected a large fleet movement in the Krextal home system. Intelligence suggests they are preparing for a final offensive. Hong's expression hardened. She had hoped the former council leaders would eventually accept reality, but it seemed they preferred to fight rather than adapt to a galaxy where they were no longer supreme. How large a fleet? She asked. Approximately 150 ships, Kim replied. They appear to be targeting the Liberation Fleet currently freeing Quilith slave colonies in the Outer Rim. The Liberation Fleets had been one of President Hong's first initiatives after the Council's defeat. Humanity and its new allies were systematically visiting every world where the Council had established forced labor camps or resource extraction operations, freeing enslaved populations and providing them with the means to govern themselves. Admiral, Hong said, take whatever forces you need and stop them. The age of slavery is over, and we will not allow it to return. The final battle of the Council War began 3 days later in the Outer Rim system of Vexnala, where Quilith colonists had been forced to work in rare metal mines for over 200 years. The Liberation Fleet, commanded by Captain Mi-young Bei aboard the Indomitable Soul, was evacuating the last group of freed slaves when the Council Resistance Fleet arrived. Chancellor Krextal's force was the largest the former Council had managed to assemble since their defeat at Earth. 150 ships representing the most militant factions of 8 different species, all united by their refusal to accept the new galactic order. This ends today, Krextal broadcast to the human ships. Your species has disrupted the natural order that has maintained peace for thousands of years. We will restore proper galactic governance. Captain Bei's response was calm and professional. Chancellor, you have entered this system with hostile intent while we are conducting a humanitarian mission. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Former Council leader's reply came in the form of weapons fire. The Resistance Fleet opened fire on both the human ships and the evacuation vessels, carrying freed Quilith slaves. That proved to be their final mistake. Fleet Admiral Kim's relief force arrived exactly as planned, emerging from hyperspace in a formation that immediately surrounded the Council Resistance Fleet. 25 Titan ships appeared simultaneously, their massive hulls bristling with weapons that had been upgraded based on lessons learned from previous battles. This is Fleet Admiral Kim, came the broadcast that reached every ship in the system. Former Council forces, you are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and you will be treated according to galactic humanitarian standards. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed. War Prince Velthara, commanding from his rebuilt flagship, made the choice for all of them. Never. The Council will not bow to primitives. The battle that followed was brief and decisive. The Titan ships had been designed specifically to fight. Council vessels and 6 months of upgrades had made them even more effective. Advanced targeting systems allowed human gunners to disable alien ships without destroying them completely, while improved armor protected the Titans from the desperate counterattacks. Within 2 hours, the Council Resistance Fleet was defeated. Over half their ships were destroyed or disabled, and the rest scattered across the galaxy as individual vessels fled in different directions. Chancellor Krextal's flagship was captured intact after its engines were disabled by precision fire from the Soul Ascendant. The crystal being was taken prisoner along with his senior staff, ending the organized resistance to the new galactic order. It is over, Admiral Kim reported to President Hong. The last organized Council fleet has been defeated. The resistance is finished. But the real victory was not military. It was moral. Captain Young-Soo Kim, commanding one of the escort Titans, had disobeyed direct orders to sink a damaged Council ship that was trying to surrender. Instead, he had disabled its weapons and provided medical aid to the wounded aliens aboard. They tried to commit genocide against us, Kim explained to Admiral Song during the post-battle review. But that does not mean we have to become like them. We can be better. That decision became the foundation of humanity's approach to governing the galaxy. Where the Council had ruled through fear and oppression, humans chose to lead through example and cooperation. Dr. Choi established the Galactic Rehabilitation Program, designed to help former Council species adapt to the new democratic system. Instead of punishing them for past crimes, the program offered education and support for those willing to embrace equality and cooperation. Revenge creates more enemies, Choi explained to critics who wanted harsher measures. Rehabilitation creates allies. The program's success was evident within a year. 5 of the former Council species had joined the Galactic Assembly voluntarily, contributing their advanced technology to help improve life for everyone. The others gradually found that isolation was harder than cooperation. Captain Bay, now promoted to admiral, commanded the first joint species fleet in galactic history. Human Titan ships worked alongside Zephyrian crystal cruisers and Corvan biovessels to patrol trade routes and protect developing civilizations from pirates and raiders. "Look at this," she told her bridge crew as they escorted a convoy of colony ships to a new world in the frontier regions. 6 months ago, these species were enemies or slaves. Now they are working together as equals. The transformation was not limited to military cooperation. Ambassador Cha oversaw the establishment of the Galactic Technology Exchange, where species freely shared scientific discoveries instead of hoarding them for competitive advantage. Human fusion technology was combined with Vorthak energy crystals to create power systems that could provide clean energy to entire star systems. Quilith biological engineering was merged with Zephyrian mineral processing to develop terraforming techniques that could transform dead worlds into garden paradises. "This is what the galaxy should have been all along," President Hong told the Assembly during its first anniversary celebration. "Not a pyramid with the strong crushing the weak, but a circle where everyone contributes according to their abilities and benefits according to their needs." The celebration was held on New Geneva, a world that had been transformed from a polluted council industrial center into the galaxy's new capital. Representatives from 63 species attended, including several that had only recently been contacted by human exploration fleets. Captain Hyunwoo Kim, the old man who had commanded humanity's first contact mission, was the guest of honor. He stood at the podium in the Great Assembly Hall, looking out at an audience that would have been impossible to imagine when he first met the council.